What's good, my man of society? It is your host with the most, Shadowloke, back at you with another video. Make sure you guys like, comment, and are subscribed. That's how you help my channel get into the algorithm. I highly appreciate if you go ahead and do that. Join the man of society. Now, this is a follow-up video to the one that I did before, right? Because somebody left a comment, right? One of my subscribers, who, he had his opinion, he, disagreed on one point, right? And it's one of the points that a lot of people always come to me with, right? So I'm here to break down, their, my point of view when it comes to their disagreement, right? Which, like the title says, is a 13-year-old an adult? In my opinion, a 13-year-old is not an adult. And I'm pretty sure most of society would agree that they are not adults, right? And you wouldn't sell a 13-year-old a house. You wouldn't let a 13-year-old go live off. Like if your 13-year-old son came and said that, he wanted to go out and live on his own, you wouldn't let him live out on his own, right? Why wouldn't you? Because he is not an adult. He is a child. What is he going to know about being an adult at that age, right? Because at that age, they're not adults, right? That's the agreement that society has, right? They are not adults, right? They are still children. They just think that they know everything, and they just think that they have it all in the bag. But in all true reality, they don't, right? But we are aware of this now because we understand that it's a part of puberty, right? Where they get this rush of testosterone, making them, more arrogant, making them feel like they're know-it-alls and stuff like that, and that they have it in the bag. And, then they realize and learn that, the parents were right? Because we lived and done that too, right? We already have been down those paths. That's why you make mistakes, because you learn from them, right? Right? That way your children don't make the same mistakes, right? So they are not adults, they are children, right? But as soon as now we talk about gangs and the gang elements are involved, they know what they're doing. No, they knew what they were doing. They knew what they was doing. No, they knew all this is that. No, they did it because they want to. All of a sudden, they know what they want and that they are adults and all of that, right? But when it comes to any other child, no, they're still children. Oh, come on, give them another chance. They didn't know what they were doing. They're kids, bro. But as soon as it's a gang member who's the same age as these individuals, that motherfucker knew what he was doing. He knows what he's doing. This is the reason why why they started changing the laws, right, when it comes to juvenile crimes, right? This is the reason why when you do a murder when you're a juvenile, you don't spend your whole entire life behind, incarceration, unless you're like a serial killer or something like that, right? Right, but that you are granted, parole, right? Because they understand that a child doesn't know what he's doing. A child could easily be manipulated. A child could let his feelings get the best of him, right? Because as children, right, if you notice, the age that people get into gangs is always roughly around 11, 12, 13. Roughly around that time frame is when individuals join gangs. And it's not a coincidence that all these individuals seem to join gangs roughly around the same age, right? It's not a coincidence that this happens, right? The reason why roughly it's around that age where these individuals start joining gangs is because what age do you roughly, go through puberty? What age does puberty hit? Puberty hits roughly around 11, 12, 13 years old. And what does puberty come with? A whole batch of emotions that a child is not used to, right? Testosterone and all that, right? Making the child more aggressive, right? More, a little more assertive, you know what I mean? Right? That's why, that's why they say teenagers, are it's like the worst, time, because they want a smart mouth, they don't listen, they think they know everything. If they don't get what they want, it's like the world's coming to an end, you know what I mean? But it's a difficult time frame for a child, not just for the parents, right? But it's understanding that it's not just your kid who just wants to make your life a living hell. It's that all children go through this phase. It's not a coincidence, right? Why at this age they, tend to be more they tend to be more rebels. right? Because they are not used to this, right? So it's a chaotic period for any teenager, right? Is roughly around the age frame where we can see that school shooters become school shooters, mass shooters, right? It's roughly around the same age where people could start seeing the slight traces of serial killers. It's a stage where children go through depression or commit suicide, right, is most likely around those time frames, right? Because they are not used to these feelings, right? And if you have nobody there or nobody that understands, right, especially at that age, how you talk to a child is makes all the difference in the world, right? You could easily make or break the child around that time frame, right? Especially you being the parent, they look up to you, even though they may not say it. You are their idol. So when you tell them that they're pendejos, estúpidos, babosos, or anything like that, right? Or you just, keep, brushing them to the side, it's gonna make a difference. And that's a problem that I see a lot that happens with raza, right? Um, it, and I mean not raza, like I mean Salvadorians and, etc., right? We're more like machistas, right? No llores como una pinche vieja, insults are thrown in there, right? So now the child feels like, his parents, maybe he view him in this type of way, right? So it's not, those kind of things shouldn't come out of the mouth of the person that the child idolizes, that looks up to, right? Those are words that a child should never hear come out of the parent's mouth, right? Because then they're going to start thinking that you do actually think this of your child. And even though you were mad at the time and you'd apologize after, they're going to think that you really mean it, right? Even though you say that, no, you were just angry at the time, they hear this more than, good comments. So, they're going to believe what they hear most of, Um, so, it's a chaotic time frame for a child, right? So when people say that they know what they're getting them, or they do it because it's fun and stuff like that, people don't do this kind of stuff for fun. They don't go and hurt people and create violence because they're looking to have fun or because they find it fun. You want to know why they find it fun? Because they are now bringing pain to somebody else. And why do people do that? Because it's the way that they lash out their pain that they feel, right? But obviously they keep these feelings bottled up inside, right? uh, uh, a gang member's not gonna admit that he's not gonna put the blame on his parents. You know what I mean, right? Because he feels like he's got this in the bag. He's in control. He knows what he wants. Even though we all know teenagers don't know what they want. It's from night and day. 1 minute is this, 1 minute is that. It's this girl, that girl, or they just don't know what they want, bro. Because their mind's just everywhere at that age, right? It's perfectly normal. 1 minute they're into this hobby, next it's that hobby. You know what I mean? It's normal for a teenager, right? So they don't know what they want, right? Now, besides that, at this age of 13, 12, 11, the child, because when we all get into gangs, we realize that you could potentially get killed. You are risking your life every single day, right? You're putting yourself in harm's way or losing your freedom, right? So at the age of 11, 12, 13, this child doesn't care if he lives or dies. Just give that some thought. This child, he's aware of this. So this child doesn't care whether he lives or dies. Now, I don't know about you, but somebody that's coming from a loving home and stuff like that, normally they care if they live or die. And only people who feel like they have nothing are the ones who don't who think or view life as they really don't care if they live or die. Right? And people risk all of this not because for a good time or because they think it's fun. They don't risk, potentially getting jumped or stabbed or shot or any of this chaos. Is there good times? Yes, right? But there's more bad than good, right? And we are aware of the dangers. But people don't put all those chips on the line for a good time. But I'll tell you what they do put all the chips on the line for is for acceptance, being a part of what you consider your familia. You are willing to risk it all to belong to something, right? Because at that age, you are so hard-headed and, you feel like these people understand. So therefore, you feel like you're in the rights. But you're not, because you're just a child, right? So you don't know better. And people think that it's these older gang members that take advantage of these individuals, right? But it's not older gang members that get in. Younger gang members. Younger gang members get in younger gang members, and younger gang members hang around with younger gang members. Older gang members hang around with older gang members. There's groups and pockets to how gangs work, right? You'll see the OGs hanging around with the OGs, or the ones in their mid 30s with the homies in their mid 30s, and you'll see the 14, 15, 16 year olds with 14, 15, 16 year olds. That is how it runs. Yeah, you'll have get-togethers and hangouts and stuff like that, but more, majority of the time, you are running around the streets with people your age. You know what I mean? Because older gang members are not forcing these younger gang members to do nothing, right? They're not telling them, they go out and do stuff because they want to go out and do stuff, right? To create havoc in this madre, because it makes them feel better inside about themselves. That's why serial killers torture animals, right? Makes them feel better about the torment that's going on in their life, right? Or the abuse that they suffer now, putting that abuse on somebody else is normal. Well, it's not normal, but I'm saying it's a common trait in human behavior. When somebody feels pain or whatever, they tend to bring pain upon somebody else because it makes them feel better about their current situations, right? Now you guys are gonna feel the same pain I feel. Now, that way, because then it's like, why only me? Why is it? It's not fair. So now I'm gonna make people feel like how I feel, right? Because it's only fair, right? Don't bitch about it, right? Because I have to live through it. I have to go through this shit on a day to day. So deal with it, just like I gotta deal with it. That's why they feel like they're doing nothing wrong, and why they're able to be, creating this chaos, right? And now here's the thing, and as people age on, right? Now looking back, they feel like, oh, I was dumb. I just thought I was a shit. I didn't want no one to tell me what to do, whatever. You know what I mean? And they're not gonna put the blame on their parents, right? Because now, so much time has passed by, and as time passes by, your bond gets better with your family, right? Because now you are to the understanding that you were misbehaving and you were in the wrong, right? Because that part of the brain doesn't develop until you're roughly around 21 to 25, roughly around that time frame, right? That's why the age of alcohol and cigarettes and all that is that age, right? It's just not randomly selected. It's because we understand that that's when the part of the brain develops now, where we're able to understand our actions, right? Compared to when you're a child. That's why it's not okay for this individual who's like in their 20s to date someone who's 15 or 16 years old, right? Because they're taking advantage of a child. You get what I'm saying? Because now this person is considered adult because they know what they're doing, while a child doesn't know what they're doing, even though you may think that you know what you're doing, right? Because I seen a few people, even some women, that were saying that, nah, I was my own person, and what they well, you're just a child. You know what I mean? Like, you just thought that you had it in the bag. You just thought that you had this shit under control, or that you knew what you were doing, but in all true reality, you didn't know. That is the reason why you chose to make the decisions you chose. Now, I'm not saying that your parents did this intentionally. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that they did this on purpose, because maybe they had their own battles that they go through. Maybe they have their own demons. You get what I mean? I'm not saying that they do this intentionally, right? But that's why a parent needs to be in the child's life, right? To guide them through life, right? So they don't make the same mistakes and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I mean, trust me, I'm from the streets, I'm from a neighborhood. You know what I mean? I remember, we were out in the streets, from like 1 or 2, whatever, that the school would end, and we wouldn't get home till like 8 in the night, bro. And they never wondered where people were, homies were, or homies, you know what I mean? We were out there unsupervised for all kinds of hours, and and I mean, put a bunch of kids in one area with no adults, no supervision. Guess what? Them kids are gonna do stuff that they shouldn't be doing, right? And as you, as a parent, you need to supervise them and need to be in their lives, right? Because they will, try to do things that they're not, supposed to be doing. People understand that, right? And it's one thing, I have a homie, right? The homie Frost. He's white, right? And he's from the neighborhood, right? And when his parents had moved him, to a different a city, whatever, and he was hanging around with some white kids or whatever, right? And he came and he would hang out with us or whatever. And then sometimes the homies would be like, "Hey, well, how come you don't go hang around with your white homies? Like just clowning, cotorreando." And he'd be like, "Yeah, man, their parents are strict. Their parents are on them. They don't let them go out. They do this, right?" And 9 times out of 10, that's why there's always more white gang. That's why there's less white gang members than Hispanic gang members, right? They're more stricter with their kids, right? Because they understand that they need to supervise their children, right? While the raza kind of tends to have this, like let them run around and you don't really have to supervise them, right? Even in Mexico, in the motherland, right? Dejan los niños, going in because they have to grow up, they have to grow up fast, right? At a young age, right? So they just let them up. But, you already know that if you let a child, unsupervised in the world, a lot of bad things could happen to that kid, bro. And that's why in Mexico, a lot of bad things happen to kids, right? Because there's a lot of evil out there in the world. That's why it's not okay to just leave a child unsupervised, right? But yet, all these homies that beef on the streets, we're out there at 11, 12, 13 years old at all hours of the night without no one telling us what the F, bro. I mean, yeah, the jefa does be nagging and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But, I mean, we pretty much, do our own thing. And how is it that a 13, 12-year-old, whatever, how is it that the parents can't control the child? Or how is it that he's telling you what he's going to do or he's just going to do it? How is it that you're not able to, have a grip on things, right? Because you let it get out of hand, right? Because now when you want to inject yourself in your child's life, now when you want to participate or be a part of your child's life, it's already too late because he already built up that wall from years and years of neglect. Oh, now I'm important to you? Oh, now you want to pay attention? Oh, now you want to know what I'm getting into? Or now all of a sudden? Nah, homie. It's too late for that. Right? But now when we grow up as adults, we're able to realize that, we're being so dumb and stuff like that, and that they do care about us, right? Because now that part of the brain has developed. It's not a coincidence that we all now come to the realization of this, bro. Because we weren't able to see it then because we were still children. And a young person's mentality is different from an older person's mentality. Why is that? Because that part of the brain hasn't developed. But people don't want to believe the science and be like, nah, that's stupid. Nah, they knew what they were doing. At the convenience, bro. But there's a reason why they started closing these youth facilities, right? And changing the laws when it comes to youths, right? Because they realized that the science was telling them that how they were doing shit before was the wrong way. Like hitting a child is not good. It's not going to change the child's behavior. But people think, nah, I was hit and I turned out cool. No, you didn't. You made all kinds of stupid mistakes and all that shit too. Maybe not to the magnitude of that, but let's not act like you were innocent. Because, any form of violence and stuff like that is gonna create problems, resentment, and all that, right? And the more crazier part about it is that people are like, they don't even know that. Nah, I don't believe in that science. I hope when you get sick, you don't go to the hospital or the doctor. You never take medication or medicine or none of that, bro. Because that's done with science. Oh, but you believe that science? Oh, okay. So you believe that science, but you don't believe this science. You don't get to pick and choose, my boy. There's a reason why they teach this to the greatest minds in the world, in the greatest universities throughout our planet. About behaviors like this, about how to go about these behaviors and all of that. Esos güeyes que van a saber. A lot, bro, a lot. And they have evidence to prove it, so. And you want to know how we know that your way about fixing things is not the right way? Is that this kind of behaviors plague our cultures. Just look at the motherland, our homelands, that is full of crime, murder, and all of that. So maybe this machista or esos güeyes que van a saber or agárrale una pinche cachetada. Maybe that's not the best way to go about things. Maybe that's the reason why there's so many cartel guys or gang members and all that to begin with. I mean, the facts speak for themselves, bro. Especially like when you get these white, gang members as well, and any of these other, gang members throughout, and not just gang members, prostitutes, dictators, serial killers, mass shooters. You get all these people who are, who have bad behaviors to them, right? Compulsive gamblers, short-tempered individuals. If you look at their background, it has one common pattern, bro. It has one common pattern, with all of these individuals from different lifestyles and different parts of the world and different time frames. There is one common pattern, and that is their childhood and their relationship with their family. It is no secret of why when a child is neglected, abused, or anything like that, they tend to turn out not to be the greatest of individuals. And that is the reason why not everyone just becomes a part of this life and stuff like that. Because some people are actually in their kids' lives. Because as an adult, you have to be there for your kid and guide them. Because a 13, 12, and 11-year-old doesn't know what they're doing. And a 13, 12, 11-year-old is not an adult. But because people have a dislike for gangs and their views on gangs, it's so easy for them to wanna come at them like this, right? No, these motherfuckers know what they're doing. Nah, they this and that, right? But what about those children over there? No, those are just kids. Come on, man, they're just kids. They didn't know what they're doing, bro. Don't act like you never made no mistakes. I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. Oh, no, those guys are different though. No, they're in a gang, so they know what they're doing. Strange. Studying human behavior and psychology, right? And taking, therapy myself. I've learned a lot about myself. I have, come, to terms with, stuff. Not all, right? Because, I'm not perfect and, I still have my, demons and battles and stuff like that, right? But it's funny because it's something that I already knew, right? Like when you're a homie and, you talk to other homies and in your childhoods and everything like that, and the similarities and knowing what homies have been through and stuff like that. Conversations that people don't hear, everyday people don't hear, right? Because a homie's not gonna want to show that side to him, right? A homie's not gonna want to show any type of weakness or anything like that, right? They want to seem like they don't care about nothing, and they're you know what I'm saying? But homies have feelings, homies feel stuff, and homies feel real pain and have real pain, just like anybody else. That saying that men don't cry is ridiculous. The most stupidest thing I have ever heard. Everybody has feelings. Everybody has something that they care for, and everybody cries, bro. We are emotional creatures. To think that a man has, absolutely no feelings for nothing, or if he cries, he's seen as weak, is the most stupidest thing I've ever heard, bro. Who the hell are you trying to kid? What act are you playing for who? You know what I mean? Those people that say they don't give a fuck and they rather be alone and they don't need nobody. No, they are people who are in pain. That's the reason why they're saying what they're saying, because nobody wants to be alone and nobody wants to feel outcast. That's the reason why people shoot up places and, commit suicide and stuff like that, bro. Not even just in humans, but in creatures as well, bro. They show when, a creature is separated from his herd, his pack, they live less, bro. They die, a lot quicker, bro. You know what I mean? Because they have feelings too. They feel depressed as well. And when you are depressed and stressed, it takes a toll on your mental and brain, bro. And that's why, people's health start, climbing down. That's why people do drugs to escape. Not because it's fun, but because it makes them feel better about themselves. That is something we have learned, studying addiction and the dopamine that's released, in your amygdala. you know. But it's understanding the science that goes behind this as well. But that's just overall my personal view on the matters from my side. Because this is stuff that they teach, to individuals, out there in the greatest universities, bro. Because the science doesn't lie. But I'm just saying, shut up, yeah.